Okay, we are live. Hey everyone, good morning, afternoon, evening, depending on where you are. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Nisarg Desai, and I am the head of chapter for Boston for Products That Count. And I'm super excited about today. A very quick intro for myself before we jump into the session itself. I'm currently the Director of Product Management at a security startup called Lacework. And Lacework is actually a platform to secure all of your assets in the cloud. And from platform, that's a good segue into our topic for today, which is building a great platform product. And I'm super excited to actually invite my friend and former colleague, Nadeem Farah, to this presentation. He's a VP of Product Management at Preparis. But before we jump into the actual content, a couple of key things to remind you all. So first of all, we'll do about 5 minutes of discussion between myself and Nadeem. We'll talk about the topic itself. We will talk about his journey as a PM, just to see where and how he got to where he is right now. And then we'll jump into the topic itself. That'll be about 20 minutes of the session itself. Please send us your questions. Use the Q&A function in Zoom to send those out, and we will reserve plenty of time towards the end to answer as many questions as possible. But I'm super excited about this topic. Platform is something that's very close to my heart. I've been building platforms as a PM for some time. So let me turn this over to Nadeem to walk us through a little bit of the agenda, but also tell us about himself. And also, Nadeem, your background on how you got to where you are today at Preparis. Take it away, Nadeem.
Awesome. Thanks, Nisarg. Hi, everyone. Excited to be with you today. Hopefully have an interactive and actionable discussion about building a great platform product. Appreciate this opportunity from the Products That Count team. So we're going to talk about the value of the platform, how we can build a great platform product, and then common growth vectors that you can leverage for growing a platform product. Before we get into that, wanted to do a brief introduction of myself. So I've been in B2B SaaS product management for the past 10 years. For most of that time, I've known Nisarg as a colleague and a friend. It's been a great journey going through mostly security and risk-focused platforms, both bringing new products to market at Global Sign, where both of us did that, and then growing mature platforms up market, and modernizing and finding new growth opportunities for mature platforms like Commvault, VMware, and Everbridge. And finally, excited about the work that we're doing at Preparis, building the BC planning platform. Four values that guide my product leadership are trying to win in high impact problem spaces and have product-led growth strategies that are both customer-centric and data-driven. Most importantly, being human first, putting an emphasis on being a mentee and a mentor. Learning is a core tenet. So excited about the topic today, and we'll kick it off.
Awesome. Nadeem, thank you so much for walking us through your background. It's super exciting to see you. It's been over a decade now that we've both were working as security PMs at Global Sign. So we've come a long way from then. Tell me a little bit more about why do you pick this topic? Why is it important, and why are you passionate about this specific topic for the webinar today?
Yeah, this is very exciting, and well, similar to you, it's a topic that's near and dear to my heart. As I went through those experiences, what I've seen is that there are very common challenges, very common needs and capabilities, and very common value points for platform products in certain periods of their life cycle, be it going from 0 to 1 or scaling up from 1 to 100, trying to go up market and mature a platform, or finding greenfield growth opportunities for mature platforms. So that's why I'm excited to share some of those learnings today and have a discussion with the group.
That's awesome. Now, you use the term platform product as a title and in this slide as well. And I've, built products that were platforms. So do you see a difference between a platform that's a product or a product platform, or are they the same thing?
That's a great question. Yeah, I think it's great to kind of level set on these key concepts. Platform products, from my perspective, are platforms that are a product in of themselves. So, for example, you have a platform that offers multiple solutions within that platform. I think Salesforce is a good example for that. And then you have product platforms where other products can be developed on top of that platform, right? The classical examples are obviously infrastructure as a service, but in today's world, we see a lot of different platform products that could be part of a company's vision and strategy that support multiple products built on top of that of those product platforms.
That's awesome. That makes perfect sense. Thank you for that distinction there. So before we kick it off, one more reminder to the audience: please use the Q&A function. Send us the questions. We want us to be as interactive as possible. Both Nadeem and I are happy to take questions. If you want it to be answered immediately, please raise a hand. Otherwise, you will get to it at the logical next pause point within the presentation. Okay, with that, Nadeem, over to you. Take it away and walk us through what you have for us.
Awesome. Thanks, Nassar. Yeah, so we've been hearing a lot, I'm sure you have as well, about do you build a platform product that offers a full suite, or do you build a best-in-class point solution that only solves one use case for customers? This is a question that a lot of us in product end up asking ourselves as we're looking at our product strategy. And I found this statistic to be very important to consider. There isn't a right or wrong answer, one size fits all, but it is good to know that 84% of B2B buyers in particular prefer platforms to point solutions. And we'll talk about why that is and what are the common value points for platform products versus point solutions. But it's also really advantageous for organizations to pursue B2B SaaS platforms. As a business model, you get higher retention. 82% of B2B buyers would renew a tool that integrates well with their other tools. So that's an important statistic for us to consider. Second is that stickiness with a tangible ROI that comes from offering a platform product that offers a full suite of solution. And we'll talk about these three categories of common value points that you can look into to fine-tune the ROI of a platform product. And third is the flywheel. You reach economies of scale when you have to build an integration once, and then you can use it with 3 or 5 different modules across your platform. So you take advantage of that flywheel effect. We're going to cover first the value of the platform, and we're going to look at how it is cost effective for customers, seamless, and an intangible value that we often miss measuring and talking about intangible parts of the value proposition, which is trust. So first, let's take a look at how platform products are cost effective. For customers, the license cost by bundling multiple use cases within one platform usually ends up with a lower total license cost that they have to pay on an ongoing basis versus licensing multiple point solutions. So that gives you an advantage that you can speak to positioning your platform. Onboarding and integration costs are also lower. You have to integrate with the HR system only once, and you have all that personnel data that can be used for all the different use cases that we solve for on our platform. And then operational overhead is another area of cost saving for a customer that goes with a platform product, because they end up having to spend less of their internal resources to administer one tool versus multiple tools within the organization. So these are three very common themes that I've seen on why cost effectiveness is a value proposition of platforms that resonates with B2B. And this is supported by the data, right? Like this McKinsey study cites that simplifying end-to-end processes where you have one seamlessly integrated platform as one way to simplify end-to-end processes can reduce fixed costs by 20 to 30% and speed up delivery and improve overall satisfaction of the end users. The other value proposition point that is very common for platforms is that they're seamless, especially if you want to build a great platform product. It needs to be seamless. And what that means is that it helps organizations to break down silos. Break down the silo between the security team and the development team with the shift lift trend that we've seen in SecDevOps, for example. Break down silos between different teams because they all have the relevant data in one platform. A lot of us work in story and backlog management systems like AHA or Jira, and I'm sure that a lot of you don't have all of the organization having access to those systems. So we've all been in that situation where you have access to a system, another team needs some information to do a report or a presentation or run a process, and they're asking for, hey, can you pull this data from this system for me? If we have it all in one platform that we're all collaborating through and it's seamlessly integrated, that breaks down those silos. And second, it streamlines our workflows. It's also easier to integrate. Back to that example of integrating with an HR system. Almost every B2B platform has to bring in personnel data for user management and sometimes for other purposes. And so you want that basic integration. You integrate once and you leverage it for multiple teams and for multiple use cases. And the third common value point, and passionate about this one because we often forget about intangible value as we think about our value proposition for our platforms, is trust. Having a platform that is positioned to an organization, especially if they have purchased that platform or licensed that platform for at least one use case already, speeds up the purchase process because you're an established vendor. They don't need to go through RFP most of the time. You already have that leadership trust. Leadership has already signed off on this solution for another use case. And then you have the team trust, because if the IT team is using this platform, then the development team or the security team or the marketing team will trust this platform and adopt it. They know that it's familiar. They know that they have people within the organization that have already figured out how to use it. And so running this, just taking a little advantage of generative AI, looking at the common keywords in value proposition statements of the 100 B2B SaaS platforms. And we kind of classified those in intangible and tangible value, and you'll see some of the things that we've talked about today as common themes. Cost, right? Collaboration, seamlessly integrated. Great. So now let's switch gears and talk about how do we actually build a great platform product. We know that go ahead, please.
Hey, Nadeem, before you move on to the next section, actually, there's a great question from Anshul Kumar in the audience. Let me pose that to you, and you might be talking about this next anyway. So the question they're asking is that there's a level of evolution that happens when a product goes from being a point solution to a platform. What do you think about the customer segmentation and the user personas that will benefit when this evolution from a point solution to a platform happens?
Perfect. Great question. Thank you for that. Yeah, we will cover this a little bit further along, but I'll speak to it briefly here. This is actually one of the common and great growth vectors to go from a point solution, establish that footprint in the market. You've crossed the schism, and now you're looking for more growth factors and solving for more use cases. Turning that point solution into a platform is a great avenue to explore. We need to refine our customer segmentation and user personas as we make that jump. There are a couple of ways to look at it. You can look at your ideal customer profile and then look at use cases for other buyers, other budget holders within the market segments where your ICP already sits. So that segmentation leads us to expand our buyer personas, but stay largely within the same market segments. Another take to that would be solving for more use cases for that same buyer or budget holder. This is usually an easier expansion because in that case, you are not changing your sales motion that much. You're not changing a lot of your go-to-market training to be able to reach new buyer personas within those organizations. But it is more so looking at the different use cases and getting a higher share of budget from that same buyer persona. And we'll talk about a third take where we would just explore entirely new market segments with the use cases that expanding to a platform opens up. So we'll cover that in a bit. Great. Love the questions. Keep them coming.
Awesome. That's all we have right now, Nadeem. Let's get to the next one.
Great. So how do we build a great platform product? We want to know our ideal customer profile, follow modular and extensible design, and to benefit from that flywheel effect, we really should avoid reinventing. So let's jump right in and talk about ideal customer profile. There are several tools that come in handy, like market research, looking at the different segments of the market, and recognize that when we do our market segmentation, we'll look at an example in a couple of minutes. That's a decision point on how you slice the market. You can slice the market by customer size, by vertical, by geographies, by different regulations that apply to them. There are different ways to slice it, and we should just recognize as we're doing these different slices that that is going to reveal and limit are reveal and limit insights in our view. And then we dive deeper into pains, needs, and gains, and we need to validate and refine our ideal customer profile. And this is especially important if we're going from a point solution to a platform, because often we are expanding or changing the definition of our ideal customer profile. So we want to revalidate the needs and pains, and we might add another ICP as we open up more market segments. These are some of the common steps that I usually follow. So first, the market segments that have common pains and needs. That would be the target audience of any slice to the market segmentation that we can take. Right? If their pain points and needs are completely disjointed, then the value of offering them use cases all in the same platform is reduced. The value of having the solutions for all these use cases in one platform product really shines through if they have common pains and needs. And then when we narrow down that focus, now we know which customer segments need a platform offering. And that space that in the market that need a customer offering, we go through our buyer interviews and we assess purchase drivers like regulatory requirements, compliance requirements, and so on and so forth. And then we select our ideal customer profiles that we want to drill down on and flesh out the pain points, needs, and gains, and then update our buyer personas accordingly. And it's really important to remove fluff from our ideal customer profile. So things like small customer or mid-size, highly regulated. This is not specific, and often it's not going to help us to create a focus in our product design and in our go-to-market motion if our ICP has fluff. On the other hand, if we say it's 10 to 50 employees, specifically in outpatient care clinics, that's our ideal customer profile. And I don't mean that we should narrow it down. It doesn't have to be a narrow definition of an ICP. It just has to be specific and doesn't have fluff in it. Another example is, instead of saying highly regulated industries, right? Be specific, healthcare, customers that need to meet HIPAA compliance in particular. So that's more specific. And then we build our buyer personas. This is just an example. There are lots of different templates for buyer personas, summary views, and expanded views out there. But basically what we want to focus on is making sure that we understand the pains, the gains, the jobs to be done, what do they need to do, and what do they need to accomplish, right? And this helps us to build that empathy with our buyer persona. This flows down from our ICP. The next area of focus for us to build great platform products is taking a modular and extensible platform design approach. There are really good benefits here from increasing integration surface, right? You have more flexibility in your packaging and go-to-market. Give an example. If you have a point solution for any kind of cybersecurity product or any kind of product that has an agent that needs to be installed, and your agent is not modular, then the more use cases that you build, you can't really sell this module without that module. You can't turn on and off modules because that's not modular, right? Versus if it's a modular design, And this is often part of the evolution from a point solution to a platform product, is doing that architectural upgrade so that you can control what modules can be turned on and off for each customer. This is kind of the evolution that I've seen common. The first step to go from point solution to a platform is the business case. We need to be really clear on the business drivers for this transformation and getting the executive level alignment. It's not enough for this to be a product or an engineering initiative, because you're really changing your go-to-market strategy, your target market segments, your ICP. And if there isn't alignment at the executive level on that at the get-go, then you're not going to achieve easily the goals of this transformation, which is growth. And then following that, architectural and UX assessment. Those are both needed, because as we're adding more user personas and more use cases, we want to make sure that we have that UX consistency across the platform. Cascading that down into our roadmap, and you can iterate. We have iterated our way from point solutions to a platform. Once we have a seamlessly integrated and modular platform, then we can start growing that platform, adding new modules. And every new module that's added is designed with that modular platform design mindset. And I think VMware is a great success story of this transformation.
Hey Nadeem, if you stay on the slide for just a second, we have another question from the audience, which I've faced many times, and it's around the role of the PM. So Mohammed is asking that when you build a great product from MVP, you have very limited resources and you have to narrow down features that are truly differentiating. So when you're trying to build a product platform, how can a PM prioritize what features and what things to add to the platform versus not? And I feel your slide here gives us some idea, but any additional thoughts to share on how PMs can go about, or how would you prioritize features while building the product platform?
That's a great question. I think, so one of the common tools is either a 2x2 matrix or a way to shortest job first. There are different frameworks there for prioritization, but in all of them, you're putting a score on value. And as we look at the value, I think it's spot on. We need to more highly score capabilities and use cases that have differentiated value. So one test would be, would a customer buy the platform because of this, versus would a customer not buy the platform because of this? And what I mean by that is, a customer has a need for cloud workload scanning, for example. The CISO has a need for cloud workload scanning. They're buying our product because it offers great solution for cloud workload scanning. They're not buying it because it has Active Directory integration. But as we start growing, we want to unblock more and more deals and go upmarket, mature enterprise readiness, then things like an Active Directory integration become expectations, and they're slated in iterative enhancements in the roadmap. And usually, when we can buy versus build in that bucket of unblocking deals, but these are not the main reasons why deals are happening, then don't reinvent the wheel. That's kind of the good segue to our next slide as well.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question and a great segue to this slide as well. which is really that we shouldn't reinvent the wheel as we're thinking about building a great platform. So many of the needs that are going to come up, especially as we're trying to grow our customer base, are common platform capabilities. A lot of other platforms out there have that same need. How do I have my customers be able to use single sign-on, RBAC, SFTP, reporting, workflow automation, an integration builder, a connector, right? A lot of these use cases now have best-in-class point solutions that you can integrate into your platform. And building our own homegrown workflow automation or integration builder, if that's not at the core of what our platform does, is not going to add differentiation. It's not going to add to our value proposition.
Yeah, that's a great point, Nadeem. And there's another question around the same topic. So let me just pose it to you right now. The question is also from Mohammed, and this is squarely for SaaS startups, right? If SaaS startups try to build their entire infrastructure, it needs both human and physical resources, human and physical capital. Should we only focus on the business solution, or should we also focus on building the whole platform? It's a two-part question, so let me state both. Should you only focus on building a business solution or also the whole platform? In case of building the whole platform, should you focus on building your own tools entirely? Should you go open source, or should you use third party? Any thoughts on that?
Those are great questions. So I think building towards a great platform product, if you already know that that's your strategy, it doesn't mean we have to boil the ocean and build the whole platform first. We can build a one module platform as our MVP. But the difference between that and building a point solution and then 2 years later realizing that, oh, we have an opportunity to become a platform product, is that you're building the architecture and the UX design and the go-to-market motions all with that end state in mind, which is to go towards being a multi-use case, multi-module platform. So your architecture is more modular. The UX design already considers that you're going to add more user personas and more use cases and more screens and more tabs. And the go-to-market positioning is talking about the vision of the platform, even though our MVP is only one product. So that stay lean and mean, even if you're executing towards building a great platform product. In terms of building our own instrumentation, tools, I would apply the same questions here. If this is going to create a core differentiator for us, versus if we're just reinventing the wheel without adding unique value to our platform. So an example would be if you're building a AI-powered or a streaming analytics-powered, ML-powered platform. And really the economics of that are going to be very important. And you look at tools out there and you see that it's going to hamper your long-term profitability if you build it on top of a third-party platform. Then you might take a different path from the beginning. Or know that you have already pre-planned that you have to pivot to build your own rather than use a third party.
Yeah, that's a great point there. In our experience from cybersecurity, we see a lot of products built off of other platforms. Splunk, Snowflake, there's so AWS. So I think we shouldn't, or one shouldn't worry about building your own platform on top of others, right? That's the case. You don't have to build an entire vertically integrated stack. You can definitely stand on the shoulders of giants and kind of build your own platform on top of others. So don't feel like you have to, like you're saying here, reinvent the wheel or build everything yourself. Focus on the core values is I think what you're trying to say here.
Absolutely. And this is a great time to be building products, especially SaaS products, because at this point, you can go to market and validate a lot faster. And that just wasn't possible 30 years ago. So we don't want to tie our hands behind our back and play by the rules from 30 years ago when everyone is operating with today's advantage of standing on the shoulders of giants, as you mentioned.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. And please keep the questions coming. Folks who have asked questions in the past, if you want to ask clarifications, please send those to us. Happy to take those. We should be wrapping up in another 15 minutes or so the presentation. So please keep them coming. These are great questions. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, love it. Thank you. All right. So let's talk about how do we grow a platform product. We talked about common value points for a platform product. We talked about how do we build a great platform product, do's and don'ts there. Now, how do we grow a platform product? There are some common vectors like going down market or up market, expanding our use cases, we're expanding our serviceable addressable market. And we'll look at an example here. If you take a look at the risk market space, for example, you can lay out a market continuum that looks like this. And I was talking about this earlier. You can slice the market in a lot of different ways. You can slice it by the life cycle of risk and incident management. You can slice it by geographical or regulatory requirements. You can slice it by different use cases. And the way that you decide to slice your market continuum is going to reveal some insight, but it's also going to hide some insight. So you might want to take a couple of different slices and produce a couple of different views before you decide on your strategy. In this view, we can see that in the risk market continuum, a few players are in the market. Through their acquisitions and feature announcements, we can see that certain players went really deep in certain spaces. And so, wow, that space is crowded, and the dominant players have gone really deep in terms of the feature set there. So growing market share in the space is going to be challenging. But we have other spaces where it's a blue ocean. You can expand and validate with an MVP solution, and then continue to deepen the offering there, or expand vertically to more and more use cases. So if we're starting from a point solution that is sitting in this same space, let's say in alerting and incident management, just as an example, based on looking at the direction where a lot of the competitors have gone and how the market continuum is laid out, we can find a blue ocean opportunity and expand to it in our platform. Great. And deciding which cuts you want to take, right? So here are some questions that you can experiment with as you're deciding how to segment your market continuum. Who are our current buyer personas? So one scenario would be the CTO, common buyer persona within a lot of technical and security tools, owns the budget for cloud workloads, right? And if that's the case, then one of the options that we can do is look at the full life cycle for cloud workloads. So not just securing cloud workloads, but also provisioning, managing the full life cycle around cloud workloads. And how many of these use cases can we consider expanding to? What does the market look like there? Another scenario is a CISO owns the budget for all cybersecurity, including endpoint protection, cloud workload protection, network protection, etc. And so now we can take a look at the different use cases in the cybersecurity space. So now we're not breaking it up by lifecycle, we're breaking it up by use cases. And we're still targeting higher budget from the same buyer. We can go beyond that to look at, okay, are we going to target other buyers within our same customer base? So that could be another way to cut our market continuum as well.
Hey, Nadeem, one question on that slide, though. This is from SoFi. What they're asking is, you're talking about taking a point solution to a platform. And when the transition point happens, how do you ensure the involvement and buy-in of different cross-functional teams when you're making that transition from a point platform to, from a point product to a platform?
Big pivots like this really need to cascade the buy-in from the top down across the organization. So I would say the starting point would be building the business case and making sure that the executive team is bought into that business case and that it is one of the objectives for the company for that year. From there on, we can plug into any framework within our organization, whether it's OKRs or any other framework that we use to cascade down those goals, focus, and vision throughout the organization. So I think that's the first thing to do. And probably the biggest initial hurdle. Following that, this is where PM is really the hub of the wheel. Reminding people of that vision that has that executive buy-in to go into a platform product and why that is, the growth goals that are associated with it, and celebrating the wins along the way, cross-functional wins, not just product wins, at every possible point. In all hands presentations, in recognition, in new hire orientation, at every point that you can possibly bring in your now new product strategy, which is to go from a point solution to a platform product, you want to evangelize that and make it relevant. Tie it back to, this is going to help with our retention. This is going to help with our growth. This is going to help you to sell easier because you're going to sell more use cases to the same buyers. So make it relevant to our sales and marketing and customer success partners.
That's awesome, Nadeem. And I know we are only a few minutes away from ending this, but we have more slides. But this question was actually pretty cool, so I'm going to pose one more. Along the same lines, right? Anshul is asking, how do you measure the success of your platform in the initial days while the point solutions are being redesigned, packaged together? Also, what are the pitfalls to avoid during this initial phase?
Great question. I would say that you can start measuring and validating hypotheses even before starting to build, right? That could be in the buyer interviews early on, as we look at the appetite for expanding to the particular type of platform with a particular set of use cases that our MVP hypothesis says that is in our vision for going to a platform. But as we get ready for launch, we can do a beta program. That's a great way to start validating. If you have a healthy 10, 20 customer participant beta program that are starting to look at your platform for, maybe the first two use cases that have been integrated together, that's a great validation point that you can share within the organization. And early adopters that are willing to pay beyond that initial beta to continue to use those integrated use cases, the first couple of integrated use cases. That would be great to measure as well.
That's awesome. Thank you, Nadeem. One other question from Rashid in the audience. This is a more general question. Will you be able to share the presentation with the attendees once it's done?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool.
Sure
Awesome. So we'll find a way to get it to y'all. And please stay tuned on how we can do that for y'all. Okay, we have just a few more minutes as we move towards the close. Please keep the questions coming. We'll answer as many as we can before our time is out.
Love it. Yeah. So as we look at these different growth vectors that we can pursue, there are several tools that we can use to evaluate those growth opportunities. So looking at the SAM size that it opens up for us, if we're opening up new serviceable addressable market. The competitive landscape. Is it crowded? How deep are the offerings? Because it could be crowded, but the offerings are mediocre and you believe that you can disrupt it. Or it could be crowded and the offerings are quite deep and sticky and it is very challenging to disrupt. It's not to say that's never to pursue that strategy, but it is something to consider as we are evaluating our growth opportunities. And then nailing down our opportunity hypothesis. This is really important. We don't know for sure yet at this stage, even when we build the business case and the executive team says, yeah, go for it. It's still a hypothesis. Until we start closing deals that are going to realize that growth from having the platform, until we start seeing a higher share of budget or purchase and adoption of the first one or two use cases that we're adding and integrating into our platform, we want to stay diligent on validating and refining our opportunity hypothesis and how we'll win in this segment. This will tell us, as we refine over the first 6 months after going to market, we'll have a very clear understanding, or should have a very clear understanding of where do we want to play and how are we going to win. And us in product having that clear understanding would help us to help all of the other teams in the organization also clearly articulate that. Helps with marketing, targeting, sales, so on and so forth. All right. And addressing common growth opportunities. So as we're trying to go up market, going to enterprise, we want to consider what are the customer expectations here. Right? There's a higher level of expectations. It's very common when you go from SMB to enterprise readiness. Things like role-based access control, permission control, automation, because their processes are just at a higher volume, scalable architecture, RESTful APIs. They have the IT team usually to be able to integrate their tools together. So they're going to start asking for that. So just be ready and expect those capabilities and think about how you want to place them on the roadmap as you start going up market. Also, it's important to recognize that going up market means a shift to our go-to-market model. It is very different in terms of marketing, lead generation, the length of the sales cycle, selling into an executive level buyer versus a lower level buyer within an organization with a more limited budget. All of those are shifts in how You're going to talk about the value proposition in the market, but also bringing our marketing and sales engineering teams along with us for this journey, and making sure that we are all ready to hit this opportunity, to hit the ground running. You know, one of the ways to do this is getting the executive or leadership buy-in, and also planting seeds of success. Find your champions that are willing to go on the journey. Find your champions that are maybe the best performance in sales or customer success, marketing, and sales engineering, the ones that are tackling interesting and more complex, larger deals today, and partner with them closely so that they can provide those first proof points of success and provide you direct feedback on the go-to-market motion for selling into enterprise versus selling into SMB. And with that, yeah, that's my last slide. Love the questions. If there are more questions, we can go to those. But excited for us to build and grow great platforms.
Thank you, Nadeem. That was awesome. We do have more questions coming in. Let me ask those. Maybe we'll do a couple more, and then we'll get to the rest, if possible, and then we'll close it out. One of the questions from the audience, from Rashid, is also around team building and team expansion. So what they're saying is that team building and team expansion is part of product. Usually, there are many multi-skilled team members in the initial stages of the product development cycle. At what stage of building your platform do you need to add in experts to your team?
Yeah, I would say it depends on the area of expertise and what questions are we trying to answer, what hypotheses are we trying to validate at each stage. So, for example, let's say that you're pursuing a growth strategy of going through 5 different verticals over the next 18 months. I'd start with the experts in the first vertical that you're going to pursue and get really close to those. Bring them into, if not the core, then the expanded initiative team. And then start iterating and growing from there. I hope that I had answered that. Do you?
It does. And I think, like you said, it depends on the specific case. In many cases, I feel you need experts, or the sooner you have those experts, the better. That luxury is not always afforded to us. So my take is the sooner you can get them, the more successful you would be. Here's an interesting question from Sagar. What they're asking is that many point solutions could eventually become platforms, but most of these tools need to improve at solving the current problem first. So should a point solution that has limited resources, many immediate issues and problems, still think about becoming a full service platform in the future, or not? And a follow-up part B is, what actions have you seen that have given the best ROI that while needing less effort at the start?
Great. So let me answer this in 2 points. The first one is, it's all about how much growth headwind do you have. So as a point solution, if we've uncovered a SAM that is highly underserved, undersaturated, and we're really the best, have a shot at becoming a best in breed point solution with so much growth opportunity in that space, then we can continue to pursue that strategy. If we know that eventually we want to expand into more use cases, so let's say that we think our point solution offering is going to continue to drive phenomenal growth for us for the next 18 months. But in the next horizon of our roadmap, we want to start expanding to new use cases. Then the best ROI would be to set rules for anything new that we build, because we're building it anyway, right? We're building and designing new features, new capabilities. We're refreshing some services. We're making upgrades to some services. And as we're doing all of that, if you have agreement on that vision, then you can start to get alignment with architects and UX within the organization about the design and architectural approaches for every new feature or module, or every rewrite of a feature or module on the product. And 18 months down the line, we'd end up in a place where our point solution is 60% modular services. And now we're set up for success to grow into a full platform solution.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for that, Nadeem. That was perfect. I think we are at the top of the hour for this session. So first of all, thank you so much, Nadeem, for sharing your experience and your wisdom. Thank you for everyone who attended. We had a lot of amazing questions that we were able to get to. One question that was often asked in the chat was, hey, can you share the presentation? How will you share it? What about the recording? So for the presentation itself, please reach out to Nadeem or I or LinkedIn. We'd be happy to share this material with you. For the recording itself, the actual webinar will be produced and hosted by Products That Count on their website for future reference. So anybody can come in and watch the recording in the future anytime. So for those that want to do that or rewatch it, I would highly encourage that. There are several other recordings from the past that are also very cool. So please check those out. And we do these monthly. So I have a monthly webinar series that I talk about. The next one next month is going to talk about Gen AI in cybersecurity. So that's a pretty exciting topic that I'm looking forward to. But thank you everyone for attending. Thank you PTC for hosting this, and thank you Nadeem once again for this session.
Thanks for having me. Thanks everyone.
Awesome. See you around. Cheers.